Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Tonight I'm talking about how Warner Brothers Discovery still will not sell the company. No matter how many articles people put out, no matter how many other videos people put out about it, no matter what rumors Hollywood Reporter is trying to start to weaken and damage a company that they don't like is not woke. The new management of Warner Brothers Discovery is not woke. They will not be making woke content and interfering with their brands. Not going to do it. Hollywood Reporter is furious at that. A lot of people in the entertainment industry are furious at that. You saw when Batgirl was canceled, it was as if that was like some major deal. Why do they care so much? Because it was woke. Because they weren't going to be able to control the DC brands. Got people very upset who wanted to control DC's brands outside the company. Well, it's not happening. But as a result, because Hollywood Reporter is very powerful, and because people don't realize they have an agenda, they really do. Look at this. David Zaslav is carrying all these bills on his back like they're all past due. Pay now, pay, past due. Look at this. This one actually does say past due. So dishonest, Kim Masters from Hollywood Reporter. They're not behind on any of their bills. But the thing that made me do this video again is because I've done this video. I've done 40 videos on Warner Brothers Discovery. I also wrote they won't sell. When was this? They won't sell. All right, maybe 2 weeks ago or something like that. Well, it's time to do another one because they won't stop talking about this. This comes from Bounding Into Comics, which is a great website. I like these guys a lot, and they have very well-written and cool pieces. They did a piece based on Thinking Critical's video from YouTube. Great channel also. Guy's very passionate, and he's got good inside information sometimes. He did a great video, and I did a video about it, talking about how the accounting people at Warner Media were starting to give answers to Zaslav's financial people about all the losses at DC Comics and gave them like some very serious inside information for like the last 30 years. So there are going to be changes at DC Comics. They will not be licensing them out. Sorry to have to tell you. They're not going to do that, even though there are rumors that they would. They will not. But Thinking Critical is a great channel, but he got fooled. I mean, it's the only way to say it. He got fooled by he's assuming that this is factual. First of all, the illustration should tell you right away that no, this is very dishonest. It's not accurate. I mean, it's not hard to go and research. Is Warner Brothers Discovery paying their bills or not? Are they behind? Some companies are behind. Or are they current? How's the debt going? I mean, they merged. They had $50 billion worth of debt. How much debt do they have now? What is it, $65 billion in debt? Wow, they seem to really be behind. Well, that's not that hard to research. Now, I know that I spend a lot of time on Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm well aware of that. I'm fascinated by the finance side, the entertainment side, the management side, and the fact that this could really turn our Western civilization around. Because once one big company is doing this, it's almost like with Elon Musk with Twitter now. People are freaking out who used to be able to control Twitter because they realize there isn't going to be one side of the conversation. So you can have woke movies from Marvel all day long. Woke superhero this, woke superhero that. You're not going to have woke movies coming out of Warner Brothers Discovery. You're not. And I can tell you why. You can look at some of my other videos. But look, without doing a lot of research and watching even my videos, although you should certainly watch all of them at least once or twice, they canceled Batgirl. So if they were woke people, obviously they would have put out Batgirl, but also they respect the brands. So if they respect the brands, they can't put the woke stuff out because the woke stuff always comes before the brand. Doesn't matter if it's comics, movies, TV, whatever. It's always woke first, representation first, story, a very distant second, if at all. And that's why that stuff doesn't sell. That's why they can't sell any woke toys. Did another video about that. All Marvel's toys, they're doing terribly because of all the woke movie stuff. People don't want to buy merchandise that reminds them of something unpleasant or that they can't relate to. Now, this article, so this article shows you this. So let me answer my own question. Well, so the debt is running wild, right? I mean, look, in this article, it says right here, Warner Brothers Discovery has a lot on its plate at the moment due to past sins and the merger with Discovery. And the load is getting bigger and heavier all the time. That's what this illustration, this is what this lie is. They're not lying. they're just basically relating what they heard in the video, and the video was taken very seriously by Thinking Critical. Again, a great channel, a great guy, but no, I mean, he was completely duped. The debt is down. The burden is less. His load is lighter. Do you know how much money they paid down on the debt? They didn't add to the debt. They don't have extra bills to pay. The debt in April 2022, when they first merged the company between Discovery and Warner Media, the debt was $58 billion. The debt is down now by at least $6 billion as of August. $6 billion paid down, not just paid on time, paid down. You get what I'm saying? So I'm sorry, if I have $2 million in debt and I pay down 200,000 of it, 10% roughly, that's less. It's less of a burden. So this illustration was very effective because it's very sneaky. And if people aren't familiar with finance, or if they're not interested in really looking at the numbers, the illustration really tells the whole story. But it's not true. So let's take a look at seekingalpha.com's article. I've covered them before. It's a finance website. It's written well. It's interesting. Obviously, people have different points of view on different stocks and financial trends. But it's an easy read. They lay out the numbers. And you tell me if you think that things are getting worse over at Warner Brothers Discovery, or if in a few short months, because it's going to be, 6 months in a couple weeks that the merger happened, if you think things are going better for them or worse. Warner Brothers Discovery, negative sentiment is overblown, from Panther Research. Two of the biggest concerns about Warner Brothers Discovery aren't really that serious. It's the summary. The declining cable business is not as bad as it seems. The cable business is where they have cable channels in the United States, and Discovery already before the merger had multiple, something like 10 to 12 cable channels. No joke. 10 to 12 cable channels in about 200 plus countries. Really have a lot of business there. There is loss of subscribers in some of their cable channels. Some of their markets are growing. So it's not nearly as bad as people think, oh, everyone's cutting the cord. Like, no, different countries, especially Mexico, Brazil, Europe, there are all sorts of things going on internationally. And they're not in the same phase as we are, say, in the United States with transitioning to streaming. The huge debt load is actually manageable. They have a lot of debt. A lot of entertainment companies that have steady cash flow, cable companies, movie studios, places that have steady cash flow, streaming companies, they do have a lot of debt. And they have debt so that it provides them with leverage. And very simply put, if you're not that into this stuff, is if you're going to buy a house, you want to buy it for all cash. It'd be nice if you have the cash. Or you want to put down a down payment and get a bigger and better house than you could if you had to pay all cash for it. That's leverage. So you leverage owning an asset by borrowing against it. Same thing, you're going to, buy something even with a credit card. You want to go on some awesome trip, but you don't have all the cash. Well, charge up 10 grand on a credit card and pay it off over time. I don't suggest doing that. Save up front for your trips if you can. All right, here's their article. Okay. Warner Brothers Discovery stock price currently trades at $13.20, down 83% from its all-time highs in March 2021. Now, the 83%, this has nothing to do with Warner Brothers Discovery, its merged stock. This stock didn't even exist in March of 2021. This is a reference to the former structure of it being Discovery. There was also a lot of crazy stuff going on in early 2021 where some investor, this guy, took $10 billion and leveraged it in a crazy way with his Archegos fund, it was called. And basically, he was creating a Ponzi scheme of increasing value. It completely collapsed. He lost all his money and he got in trouble for it. But unfortunately, it did affect Discovery stock because their stock was going up and up and up. They had no idea what was going on. They just thought everybody was excited about their new streaming business. That wasn't the case. However, the number one reason that this author says of why the stock is down at all and why it's overblown, that the company's negativity, the negative sentiment around the stock. The dividend-seeking AT&T shareholders selling Warner Brothers Discovery stock. Now, I'm glad he put this as reason number one. One of the viewers, you guys are amazing. Sending me articles on Twitter is great. I really appreciate you guys doing that. This is exactly the kind of thing I like to talk about. I've talked about this. I keep saying this. Like, yes, the stock is down. They know the stock is down. The stock is down because 71% of the merged company was given as a dividend, as an inheritance to AT&T shareholders. Okay, this is complicated, but it would be as if someone's great uncle that they never knew of donated his ownership of his stocks or whatever, or gave his house, in another country even, to his long-lost nephew. It was like, oh, guess what? You own this house in Costa Rica. Well, do you want it? Like, well, you got it for free. Is it worth anything? Yeah, it's worth something. Like, well, are you going to go move to Costa Rica or something? Or do you want to just sell the house? Like, you just sell it. The stockholders of AT&T got 71%. It's a huge percentage, why I keep stressing it. 71% of Warner Brothers Discovery for free. These are people that just wanted their annual dividends from AT&T. The dividend was cut at AT&T because AT&T screwed up their finances multiple ways. But the dividend was cut, and they got this free stock basically instead. So, of course, those people who never wanted to buy Warner Brothers Discovery stock in the first place, the company didn't even exist in the first place. When they got the free stock, they've been selling it. 71% of the ownership of a company is enormous. That's an enormous amount that's going to be sold. It's going to take at least a year for that to sell off, at least, if not 2 years. So the stock price is going to be depressed because there's always going to be more supply than demand for this stock until the people who've sold it are out of it. And then there's a new group of shareholders that are looking to hold on to it or trade it or whatever they're going to do with it, but at least not the people that inherited something that they didn't even want in the first place, didn't even know they owned. Reason two of why this is overblown, the negativity. Netflix has lost 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter of year 2022. Netflix did terrible. And that basically, because of Netflix's first quarter, that was the end of the miracle of streaming. Netflix is still in business. They still have a successful enough stock and they're going places or whatever, but they have to make radical changes to their business, including offering advertising supported versions of Netflix coming soon. So that killed the mood for streaming companies. That Netflix getting hurt meant everybody who was depending on streaming services are going to get hurt. Number three, strong competition in the streaming space. There is strong competition. Reason four, they have a high level debt compared to peers. They do have a high level of debt. He'll go over there's more details about the debt as well. 5, messy post-merger operations. There's a lot of cleanup they have to do with Warner Media and moving Warner Media operations to combine them with Discovery. That's not easily done. And number 6, a lousy macroeconomic outlook, meaning everybody knows we're in a recession. If they don't believe we're in a recession, they know we're headed to a recession. So it's not good. The business outlook is not good throughout the world right now. Investment thesis. Okay, in this article, the author analyzes 2 main contributing factors to Warner Bros. Discovery depressed price to see if Warner Bros. Discovery's price is justified. The 2 factors are Warner Bros. Discovery's declining cable business and its huge debt load. The declining cable business. It's no surprise that cable subscriptions have been declining fast. Here are some stats. According to Nielsen ratings, TV viewing has been dropping about 10% per quarter. 2, in total, major U.S. cable TV and satellite TV have lost 25 million subscribers since 2012 and are projected to lose another 25 million by 2025. 3, adults aged 18 through 29 are our largest age group without cable, with 34% of them not having subscriptions to satellite or cable TV services. It seems the younger generation defaults straight to streaming and does not even consider cable TV as an option for content consumption. Well, that's bad. However, not many know that streaming revenues are growing faster than declining cable revenues. What? Yup. So if you're in the streaming business, your revenues are increasing faster than the cable revenues are actually going down. Oh, okay. Good thing you're in the streaming business. Based on the projections by Statista, the figure below, a company that engages in both cable TV and streaming would experience net revenue growth. That means they're going to bring in more than they're losing. So net means you take the growth minus the loss. What's left? Positive or negative? Net positive. Net growth. This is because revenue growth from streaming would outpace declining revenue from cable TV. This may mean that companies like Warner Bros. Discovery, Disney, and Paramount would experience a 36% revenue growth, that's a lot, from 2016 to 2026, a CAGR of 3.2%. So that's a compound annual growth rate, which is this is what CAGR means, which basically just means every year 3.2% more and more and more and more on the increasing number. Consumer spending on pay TV and streaming video in the United States from 2016 to 2026. So here's the chart. Note the graph refers to revenues earned and not the number of subscribers. Okay, so the graph shows revenues. Yeah, streaming's up. It's important to note that projections above only take account of revenues from subscription costs and not revenues gained from ads. So this does include ad revenue. Since ads will become a more personalized part in the streaming world, we can assume that ad revenue generated from streaming services will be greater than from cable TV services. For example, Discovery Plus makes $11 per subscriber from a 5 monthly fee and over $6 in advertising for only 3 minutes of ad time versus $7 from their cable TV services. This is 57% higher. It was no surprise, therefore, that Warner Bros. Discovery's CEO stated, if we lost 1 million cable subs, all we need to do is pick up 650,000 streaming subs in order to be making more money. You see? So they're getting more revenue from streaming than they're losing even from cable. It's a pretty good business. Additionally, traditional cable TV companies that are moving into streaming can use the same content and earn from multiple channels. This is such a big deal. There's no way to really explain this except to say when you have content is king when you have distribution. And they have cable channels, they have streaming, but they have free streaming that's advertising supported. There are so many platforms, so many ways that they can sell and remarket digitally. The world has never seen this before. And Warner Bros. Discovery has all of those outlets. You look at a company like Netflix. I'm amazed by a lot of the internet companies, a lot of them, because it's such a change in how business is done. But particularly Netflix, like not having distribution outside of streaming. There's no cable channels. They don't even have an advertising supported version of Netflix yet. As if that one distribution channel was always going to be all that mattered and there'd never be too much competition in streaming. Look at Amazon. They have Amazon Prime, but it's like they're not really trying to make money from the streaming side. That's just something they do as part of an overall package. The competition does all sorts of things. So no matter how good things are, they can always turn to not as good, which is why it's excellent that Warner Bros. Discovery has multiple revenue sources. They have the cable channels. They have it's endless. The streaming, cable, theatrical stuff that they license, stuff they put out on their own distribution platforms. As can be seen from the graph, younger generations embrace streaming services faster than older generations do. Because of this lag in the adoption of streaming between the various age groups, there will be a period where households subscribe to both streaming services as well as cable services. This means companies like Warner Bros. Discovery, Disney, and Paramount can earn double the revenues for each show that it creates. Insane, but good for them. Warner Bros. Discovery is producing Game of Thrones, and it can air it on both HBO Max and linear TV, while Netflix can only air it on one platform. Exactly what I was saying. By double, I do not necessarily mean 2 times the revenues, but I mean more than 1 time. Moreover, viewers who keep the cord aren't necessarily only watching cable and satellite TV content. Currently, 56% of Americans say they watch cable or satellite TV, while 78% of households have subscriptions to Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney+. This clearly indicates that there's an overlap in consumers. Knowing this, would you prefer owning a company that can only distribute its shows on streaming platform, or a company that can distribute its shows on both linear TV and streaming? Well, you know how I feel. Boy, this guy and I really agree. It's funny because I didn't get a chance to read this whole thing before I started this. It is also important to differentiate between subscribers and viewership. Subscribers refers to the number of people who pay for the service, while viewership refers to the number of people who view the shows. Today, Netflix has more viewers than all of cable and satellite TV combined. However, cable still leads in terms of the number of subscribers. That is why the second chart of this article shows that subscribers are still spending more on pay TV than streaming. This goes to show that the cable TV space is still a highly lucrative market and suggests that although people spend more time on streaming platforms than on cable TV, they're unwilling to cancel their cable because some of the shows that are only aired there. So, yeah, I mean, I have my cable. There are some shows that are only on there. So there you go. Take, for example, sports, news, and reality TV. The inflection point where streaming will overtake linear TV and consumer spending is only expected to occur in 2024. Therefore, owning a company that has access to lucrative residual revenues from linear TV, which is cable, as well as exposure to streaming is a smart move. Manageable debt. Manageable debt. Guys, the debt is under control. The debt is manageable. Taking into account the $6 billion in debt Warner Brothers paid off in August, Warner Brothers should have a total debt figure of $47 billion. I've seen some people state it as high as 52. It certainly ain't 58 anymore. How he's exactly getting to $47 billion, I don't know. I hope it is only $47 billion. That means they're doing even better. Can you imagine if they paid off $11 billion since April? But at least it's 6 less. Compared to its peers, its debt levels are on the higher end. In an increasing interest rate environment and an anticipated economic downturn, companies with high debt levels are more at risk of going bankrupt. Absolutely true. As such, the market has punished the stock, but let's dig more into it. According to management's presentation, this actually really matters a lot. Okay, so according to management's presentation, only 29% of the total debt, or $13.6 billion, is due within the next 3 years. Fortunately, the average maturity of debt is 14 years. The average cost of debt is 4.3%. That's interest. Fortunately, 87% of its debt is fixed, while 13% is variable. So what this means is 29% of the total debt is to be paid over the next 3 years. That is principal debt that they also have to pay interest on. Once the principal's paid, unless they refinance the debt and they want to get more debt, it's gone forever. So if they paid this $13.6 billion down off of this 47 number, they would have whatever, 33, 34 billion in debt, down from 58. So 29% is payable within the next 3 years. The average maturity of the debt is 14 years. So this means on average, they have 14 years to pay back the rest of the debt. That's a long time. It's not tomorrow. The average cost of debt is 4.3%, the interest. That is also not high. It's why it's roughly $2 billion a year. But as they pay off principal, say, for example, if they pay this $13.6 billion off and they don't find the need to get more debt, they don't need more cash, which they probably, I don't know what their plans are for that. So I would assume they're going to let the debt go down, because it sounds like they've been talking about in their reports how they want to knock the debt down. I would assume they're not going to refinance it, but it looks like they're not going to have to. The average cost of debt is 4.3%. So 87% of it's fixed and 13% of it's variable. Fixed means it's already at a low interest rate. So while interest rates might go up, they're not going to go up for them. They are fixed. Same thing as a fixed mortgage versus a variable mortgage on a house. The number is what the number is. It's not going to go up. If they need to get new debt, they may have to pay more money for new debt. But it's unlikely they would keep such a massive debt. They don't need it. Warner Bros. Discovery defines gross leverage target as gross debt divided by the sum of most recent 4 quarters adjusted EBITDA. Okay. It's finance stuff, but bear with me. Thus, to make sense of their expected gross leverage target of 3 times by the end of 2024, we have to take a look at management's expectations of adjusted EBITDA in 2024 as well. EBITDA is very similar to free cash flow. Okay, 3 times meaning that they have at least 3 times the free money they can use from operations, cash, basically income roughly from operations, 3 times the debt payments. Management expects an adjusted EBITDA, or you can consider it free cash flow, of $9 billion for 2022 and $12 billion for 2023. They conservatively assume an adjusted EBITDA of $13 billion for 2024. That is very conservative. Based on this assumption and taking management's expectation of a 3 times gross leverage ratio for 2024, it implies a debt target of $39 billion. That means the company will pay down at least $8 billion of debt in 23 and 24. $8 billion. Pay it down. Goodbye. At the surface level, this seems a reasonable goal to meet. Management has targeted $3 billion in cost synergies. Thankfully, during the last earnings call, CFO Wiedenfels stated the $3 billion target might be conservative. It is conservative. And he knows it's conservative. But you don't put high numbers out, because then if you don't hit them, people complain. Quote, I'm very pleased with how well the program has progressed so far, and based on the savings potential in our initiative funnel, I have full confidence that we will expect at least $3 billion of synergies overall, with $2 billion to $3 billion of synergy realization in 2023. They're expecting by 2023 to get $2 to $3 billion in these savings. Naturally, we'll update the market regularly, and certainly on value and timing increases. That's from the second quarter earnings call. Retail investors can confirm management's move by assessing the various measures already reported in the news. Here are some management's latest corrective measures. 1, shutting down CNN Plus, not CNN. Layoffs of the advertising sales team. Layoffs of HBO Max employees as HBO Max merges with Discovery Plus. Those were the reality show people. Why do they need reality show people if you're merging with Discovery? You have tons of reality people. Shutting down high-cost projects. We've seen that. Selling certain cable networks. I haven't seen them sell any cable networks. I might have missed it. According to management, the company will be able to generate free cash flow of around $3 billion in 2022 and $4 billion in 2023. This is more than enough to cover the $1.3 billion in 2023 and $4.3 billion due in 2024. And I assume that those are principal amounts and not interest payments. In any case, they have plenty of money coming in. Therefore, Warner Bros. Discovery will unlikely face any financial trouble in the years ahead. Analysts expect future revenues to grow at 5.9% over the next 4 years. Additionally, they expect adjusted EBITDA to grow at a rate of 12.5% for the next 4 years and reach $14.5 billion in 2025. That's a lot of money. Free cash flow. Okay. They're expecting free cash flow to grow at 34% over the next 4 years. The company to have a free cash flow yield of 29% in 2026. The free cash flow is, these get to be complicated measurements. Bottom line is they're making plenty and plenty of money. They're being very careful with how they're spending it. And as they pay down this debt, the value of the company goes up. As the people who own AT&T, who owned AT&T stock, and then for some reason got this inheritance that they never expected, which is the ownership of Warner Bros. Discovery, as they sell that for cash, and more people trade hands, more owners come in, trade hands, the stock of Warner Bros. Discovery will be in the hands of people that actually want to hold on to the stock and see what the heck happens with the business. So the stock price will go up. In conclusion, from their analysis, it's obvious that Warner Bros. Discovery does indeed have a massive amount of debt. Fortunately, most of it's not due anytime soon and has a fixed interest rate. What debt is due in the coming years can easily be paid down with its expected free cash flows. Moreover, having seen how quickly and effectively the cost-cutting measures were executed, they think it's likely that Warner Bros. Discovery debt load will not pose a problem. Moreover, although Warner Bros. Discovery cable business is declining, it's declining more slowly than the growth in its streaming business. Net positive. Since it's a profitable cash register currently, why not use it? To the author, it seems that traditional media companies like Warner Bros. Discovery, Paramount, and Disney can weather the streaming wars better than Netflix can. Yeah, Netflix, they've been making moves. They've been, having changes in their business and how they do things. They're not going to be as woke now. They're going to have an advertising-supported version. They said they're going to crack down on people that have been sharing passwords, but they have no distribution outside of the streaming. And streaming is so important, but it's not everything. When you want everything, whether it's Warner Bros. Discovery or Paramount or Disney, those companies have multiple ways of distributing their content. And the biggest benefit of all with Warner Bros. Discovery is they ain't woke. So are they going to sell themselves to Universal? Well, they have no financial need to do that. Warner Bros. Discovery by itself was worth between 20 and 30 billion, depending on the day, and depending on the month, on its own as a cable company with 15 billion in debt. They didn't need, if they were going to sell the company, they could have sold the company. People would have been very willing to buy Discovery. They've had opportunities to sell it before. They didn't want to sell it. The reason they merged with Warner Media was so they would create something much bigger and better, and it would be at scale, and they wouldn't have to sell out. So the odds of them selling out are extremely low because there's no need for them to sell. They don't need the money. The debt is under control. They don't need management. They're hiring their own people, but they know how to manage assets. They know what they're doing. And the smart people who have their stock realize that, with 71% of it being owned by AT&T shareholders as an inheritance, essentially, that's where all the selling comes from. So that's my newest video on why they still won't sell Warner Bros. Discovery. There's literally no reason for them to sell it, no need for them to sell it. Also, no need to trust Hollywood Reporter without really looking at what they're doing. This illustration alone shows you what they were doing was not honest. They were trying to make it look like they can barely cover whatever it is that they're doing. They're not in that position. Paying down the $6 billion in debt in a few months is a big deal when all your debt was $58 billion. All right. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. I will be doing more videos on Warner Bros. Discovery. Obviously, I do a lot of them. I'll be doing more videos on comics, entertainment, all kinds of things. And I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.